The Minister of Power, Adebayo, Adelabu, has pushed back against claims that 128 billion naira is missing in the power sector, saying the issue relates to a 2022 audit that predates his appointment. While welcoming any investigation, the clarification has triggered wider business and governance questions about transparency, institutional accountability, and investor confidence in Nigeria's electricity market. Analysts say the episode underscores the importance of clear audit interpretation, effective communication by public officials, and strong financial controls at agencies such as NBET. Beyond individual responsibility, the debate has refocused attention on how legacy financial issues are handled, their impact on power sector reforms, and the need to reassure investors and consumers that market governance is improving. Kolawale Dare, Deputy Director, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, and let's get into the topic at hand. What does the minister's clarification that the 128 billion naira relates to a 2022 audit, what does it tell us about the importance of timing and context when it comes to public finance debates?
Thank you very much. Importantly, these explanations from the minister does not solve the issue at hand, which is the issue of lack of transparency and accountability, and that a lot of money, Nigerian money, public funds are missing. At best, what the minister had said puts some context into the timelines for when the funds are missing, but this is clear already. The Auditor General has been very clear in its report that this relates to the 2020-2021 financial year, and that is because that is contained in the 2022 Auditor General's report. But that does not mean that Nigerians know where those funds are. It doesn't mean that we've gotten the benefit of transparency and accountability. And most importantly, it means that these funds that are missing remain missing, and Nigerians suffering for it.
128 billion naira. So what should be Adelabu's role in this? Because from what he's saying it wasn't on his watch that this happened, so somewhat absolving himself. How do you believe he should move in the light of this revelation?
It's very simple, really, and that is why we've taken a two-pronged approach. We've written to the president because ultimately the ball stopped at his table, and he is the one that appointed the minister. We've written to the president to take action to ensure that these matter is investigated, as reported in the report of the Auditor General of the Federation. But we've also taken steps to write to the ministry, written an FOI request, what is called a Freedom of Information request, simply asking or the ministry, as it were, to respond and provide information on these detailed 13 issues raised by the Auditor General. There are actually more than 13. 13 issues raised against NBET, raised against the minister. So what we've done is to write a Freedom of Information request to these two, the minister and to NBET, asking them to provide information on the location of these funds. And you won't agree with me that even though these funds were missing within the 2020-2021 financial year as documented by the Auditor General, these institutions have the responsibility under the Freedom of Information Act and the Constitution to provide information as to what they know about those funds. Of course, governance is a continuum. So even if they can say they deny culpability in terms of not being there when it happened, I think they also have a responsibility to provide answers to what they know and what they see. And the least they can do is to open their books and cooperate with the law enforcement agencies to get to the bottom of this.
And do you see this issue, do you see it in any way undermining confidence in Nigeria's power sector, the reforms that are ongoing and the investment outlook?
Of course it does. And that is why a critical examination of each of those issues. And I really ask Nigerians to check out the report on the website of the Auditor General Federation. When you look at the breakdown of 13 issues against NBET, for instance, it raises serious questions about the power sector reform, and perhaps provides an answer as to why we are yet to generate and transmit enough electricity for Nigerians. I'll speak about the first two issues, for instance, that the Auditor General raised. The first issue the Auditor General raised was an inappropriate contract awards of over 400 million naira. The same Auditor General also raised contracts that were awarded to ineligible contractors because they didn't follow due process of over 400 million naira. For instance, and according to the Auditor General, NBET could not provide documents that show that these contracts went to due process. What does that mean? Even to the way this very critical stakeholder in the health sector is bleeding funds. Since 2021, your guess is as good as mine. How much would have perhaps fallen to the cracks now? And that clearly shows that while we say that we need foreign investment to boost our power sector, we are really not managing the amounts that we've had sincerely well over time.
And while ministers may come and go, the regulators and all the agencies in between, like NBET, remain through whatever era. So what exactly is the significance of NBET within the electricity value chain? Is it still relevant? What role is it playing? And how could questions around its finances affect market stability?
The relevance of NBET, I think NBET is still relevant in terms of the statutory framework. But in the practical aspects of carrying out its duties, these kind of findings by the Auditor General raises very important questions about whether NBET is fulfilling its statutory mandate or is it just another avenue for which funds can simply enter into private pockets. And when you look at the Power Sector Reform Act and the way NBET was created out of the unbundling of the whole the process, you would see that what NBET does is a significant partner in buying electricity in bulk from gencos, from the generators, and then selling it to those who distribute it ultimately and to those who consume power on a large scale. But if NBET, that is supposed to be the bridge, a very critical regulator in this instance, is bleeding money, so to speak, in this instance, how then do we expect it to play its role well to ensure that Nigerians get the benefits of stable power for 24 hours, which of course we've not been able to do? And that again shows the failure of these very important stakeholders in the power sector.
And let's come to the issue of trust, right? And communication. How important is that timely and clear communication for public officials, especially in preventing market misinformation and bridging the trust between the consumers?
It's very important, but what we've seen in Nigeria, practical experience at least, and we can benchmark it with 1999, is that transparency and accountability is more observed in the breach by public institutions. In this case, the Ministry of Power and NBET not been an exception to what we've seen as the general norm in Nigeria. One would think that the NBET and even the minister would perhaps have discovered this before now. Now, the Auditor General released this report. I'm sure that the minister and even the agency, and this report is a public document, it's available publicly. And what we had expected them is to address these allegations made by the Auditor General, or at least come forward with information that should clear the air. And that is against the background of the Freedom of Information Act that mandates public institutions to proactively disclose information. So for any investor that wants to invest in the power sector, for instance, don't you think this kind of information is important, that you would want to know how NBET, a major stakeholder in that value chain, has been able to manage funds and how effective are they in playing their regulatory oversight? In this instance, for agencies that not only mismanage funds, but that has not been forthcoming in disclosing information, it doesn't speak well of that agency, and it definitely doesn't speak well to attract foreign investors.
Well, hopefully we're going to see what comes out of this, these allegations, and yeah, we'll be following this story closely. Thank you so much for your time, perspective, and the information you've shared with us. Kolawale Dare, Deputy Director, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.